Hello everyone and welcome to another Hero Arts video. This is Yana. Today I'm going to be working with the new 6x6 background cling stamp from Hero Arts along with a couple of colors of the ombre ink pads. I will share 3 cards in this video and will show you the versatility of the 6x6 background stamps. Now these backgrounds, along with the rest of the summer 2015 catalog products, will begin shipping to stores on April 20th. So they will be available for purchase in stores very soon. This release will also be available in the Hero Arts online shop on May 5th, 2015, so stay tuned. So here's the background stamp that I will be using for my projects. It's called Drippy Lines and it's a 6x6 background stamp. This is pretty neat because you can use it whichever way you like. You can use it horizontally, vertically, or even diagonally. The design is pretty cool too. You have those uneven lines which look very artsy and playful, I'd say. Not your typical straight lines. For my projects today, I will be using a couple of other supplies. I've picked the planner page edge dies. I will be using one of those to cut vellum. I also have terrarium fancy die. This one is going to be used simply as a little accent for my project. I also have Stamp and Cut alpha tabs. I'll be using those to stamp a sentiment for one of my cards. And I also have Stamp Your Own Succulents stamp and Stamp Your Own Plant stamp sets. I really like the leaves and a couple of sort of like floral images in those, so I'll be stamping those and cutting them out for my cards. Now for my inks, I've picked 2 ombre ink pads, the yellow to orange and pool to navy. These are going to look very trendy on a background. I will also be using the pink to red one on a different card, and I'll share it here towards the end of the video. Okay, so I'm going to start working on my project by inking my background stamp using the yellow to orange ombre ink pad. I'm going to position my ink pad so that the lighter color or the yellow color is at the top and the darker color or the orange color is at the bottom. Now, the way that you use these ink pads is you kind of have to go back and forth just a little bit so that you can blend the colors and don't have any harsh or defined lines in between the colors. With this particular stamp, because it's not a solid one, even if I don't go back and forth and don't blend the colors, the lines are not going to be visible, well, as visible as on a solid image. Jennifer Maguire did a wonderful job showing how you can use these ink pads on regular and also background stamps, so be sure to check out her video. Now, because I have orange ink at the bottom here on my stamp and also on my ink pad, I'm going to rotate my ink pad so that the orange ink is now at the top. If rotating the ink pad seems a little bit too confusing for you, you can keep the ink pad in your hand as is and simply rotate the stamp that you're applying ink to. I, however, find it easier to rotate the ink pad. So after I've done that, I now have the orange ink at the top, and I'm going to try to layer orange on top of the already existing orange and continue inking my stamp, going back and forth just a little bit, trying to blend the colors. I will keep doing so until I have most of the surface of the stamp covered with ink. I'm not inking the entire stamp because I'm only going to be making an A2 card, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. If I were to make a larger card, I would ink the entire surface. Now I'm going to place my cardstock, and this is actually an A2 top folding card already folded. I'm going to be inking the front panel of this card, so I'm placing this onto my stamp. I'm going to cover it up with a piece of paper and press down to transfer the ink. With the stamps that are this big, I find it easier to keep the stamp on my work surface and place the paper on top. Now you can use a brayer to make sure you apply even pressure and transfer the ink evenly onto your paper. I am simply going to press down with my fingers today. So now I can remove the paper and pick up my card base, and here I have a beautifully inked ombre background. This really takes your project to a whole new level and makes it look quite nicely. Not your usual one-color inking. Now I stamped my lines going horizontally on this card. Here are 2 more ways that you can use this stamp. Here's a card with the lines stamped vertically. You can see I was able to cover the entire card front. I used pool to navy ombre ink pad on this one. And here's one more example where I've stamped the design slightly diagonally using the pink to red ink pad. I also used the same ink pad on a sentiment stamp there, and you can see how nicely the colors blended together. So you see, you do have a lot more options when using the 6x6 backgrounds. I also want to add a layer of vellum to my main project, but I want to do something fun with it. So I'm going to use a die from the Planner Edges die set, and I'm simply going to cut a fun edge on one side of my vellum. I'm going to tape my die in place and then quickly send it through my Artisan Explorer machine from Spellbinders. Now these dies work in any other die cutting machines just like any other regular dies. While I have my die cutting machine out, I'm also going to cut a terrarium die out of pool layering paper from Hero Arts. I simply want to add some sort of fun element to this project, and this terrarium seems like a good fit. I'm using pool paper here because I will also be using the Pool to Navy ombre ink pad to do some of my stamping in a minute, and I want this stamped and the die cut images to match. And Hero Arts makes this very easy by having color coordinating products. I'm going to be stamping a few leaves from the Stamp Your Own Plant stamp set. I'm picking out those leaves that won't be too difficult to cut out. There are some really beautiful leaves in this set, and I've actually already used it quite a few times on a couple cards. Anyhow, I'm going to be stamping my leaves using the ombre ink pad to create some interest on my project. So once again, I'm going back and forth just a little bit when inking my stamp. I'm trying to blend the colors together and avoid any harsh lines on my stamped image. I'm going to stamp this onto Hero Arts white cardstock, and I will be cutting this and a couple more images using my scissors. I'm also going to stamp the same image using pool ink, and finally one more from this set using the Green Hills ink. I want to add a couple floral-like images, so I'm going to use a couple from the Stamp Your Own Succulents set. As soon as I have that ready, I'm going to grab my Tim Holtz scissors and I'm going to cut all of these images out. It really doesn't take that long, no more than a minute to cut each of them out. I also need to stamp a simple sentiment for this project. I'm going to use the little alpha stamps as I want my sentiment to be a little playful, and I want the letters to be positioned a bit at an angle, maybe like at different angles and at different levels. You can't really have that with a pre-made sentiment, but you can easily create this look by using individual letters. Now, I wasn't sure what kind of sentiment I wanted to have and what kind of look I wanted, so I ended up making one, then making another one, then going back to the first one, and so on. This was like picking shoes out in a shoe store. I couldn't make up my mind and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I ended up using both pieces that I created. I simply layered the orange one under the white Oh Happy Day sentiment. And now the orange piece was created by pressing a piece of white paper, or well actually white cardstock, into the ink pad, into the ombre ink pad to get a bit of that ombre look. It turned out fine, but I think I had envisioned something less vibrant for this card, so that's why I ended up using the white, the one with the white on white cardstock. Okay, now it's time to put this card together. I'm going to use liquid glue to adhere all the little pieces onto my vellum, and then use the same glue to adhere vellum onto my card base. Vellum is actually going to be floating on the card. It's only going to be attached in one place where that cluster of embellishments is. I'm also going to use foam adhesive to pop my flowers up and also lift up some of the leaves on my project. To finish this card, I'm also going to add a couple of accents in blue to match one of the leaves on my project. I'm using Hero Arts gemstones and adhering those onto vellum, forming a visual triangle around the cluster. So here's one final look at all of the cards created using the new 6x6 background stamp from Hero Arts. One is stamped vertically, one is stamped horizontally, and one is stamped slightly diagonally. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section on YouTube or in Hero Arts blog. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!